from your highest to your lowest in the program, how much weight have you lost?
The highest I ever saw on the scale was 236. And then it took me about 11 months to lose the weight I wanted to lose to get down to where I was finally, and then where I stayed, and that was 168.
168.
So 236 pounds down to 168 pounds in about 11 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was a large amount.
How did you feel when you were at your biggest? I think people need to kind of hear that and relate with that versus how you felt when you were at your lowest.
Physically or emotionally?
Both, all
Mentally.
of it.
Okay. So physically, kind of obvious. In 236, it was pretty big for my frame. I'm 5'11"ish. And one of the biggest things is I was always tired. I mean, I couldn't even make it through a movie, I would fall asleep on the couch. So I was always tired. And then obviously like my joints would ache all the time. And I was still going to the gym all the time, still working out, but seems like I was always getting injured, So I guess from all the inflammation, but achy joints and always tired. Those are my two biggest ones that I noticed like big time.
What about mentally and emotionally?
Oh my God. Pretty insecure, I wouldn't say too bad, but I wore more baggy clothes and, definitely not what I wore when I was 168 pounds. That's for sure. So, the insecurities were more apparent. That's for sure.
And as far as like being willing to take off your shirt and
yeah, wasn't excited about that ever. I was aware of how I looked and yeah, I wasn't too excited to take my shirt off and wear certain clothes and didn't care about that as much. That's for sure.
yeah. So since being in the program, like what and losing all that weight and changing that big of a transformation, what are the things that have come into your life as a result of being in the program and losing that weight?
I would say the biggest one, hands down, is self-respect because I knew what I was doing. I wasn't living up to my own standards, my own values, and the self-respect with having the discipline and someone like you that was always reminding me of that. That's like, Sai, you're not being who you want to be. You're not living up to your own standards. I knew. So I would say, the difference would be self-respect is number one and confidence. I don't know if that goes hand in hand with the self-respect, but, confidence obviously went up because felt better in my clothes, felt better in my skin, felt better basically in every way. Not basically, every single way. So I would go with self-respect as number one. And confidence is good, but the confidence, like there's a lot of things that go into confidence, not just how you look. So, but self-respect, as far as living up to my own values, my own principles, that was the biggest one.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. What about like, do you feel like that transferred over into other areas of your life, like family?
Of course it did. Of course it did. I mean, if you're more confident in how you talk to people, I mean, one of the biggest ones for me was it transferred into the workplace. You know, uh, just people can see it. They can see when you talk. If you're more confident, you don't want to be arrogant, obviously, but if you're more confident, it comes across in everything you do. You know, so yeah, it transferred over into every part of my life. Oh yeah, and not only was sorry, going back to what we were saying earlier is I was always tired, but my sleep was bad. So the sleep quality, I'm sure that's why I was always tired too. Sleep quality was bad, so my sleep quality greatly improved when I lost all the weight too.
Yeah.
I stopped snoring.
I'm sure a lot of guys out there can relate to that as well, man. Yeah, that's got to be rough for you and your wife,
Hmm.
across the board. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I remember just seeing you and like how you were before and after, and just just the way you carried yourself and the looks on your, like even in the pictures, the looks on your face and, after you
Yeah.
move and like you said, energy levels and,
Yeah, I always had
you
that
know,
miserable look on my face in
yeah.
those older pictures.
It would have been great to have before and after lab work too. That would have been really cool to see
Yeah.
that, to see the changes in that as well. So
Yeah.
it's something that I'm trying to do with my clients now is do lab work before and after so they can actually see it because when you see those markers, those dangerous markers, they start, going up and then you can just start seeing them trend downwards as you progress. Man, that's amazing. So let's see, what is that? I don't know how many pounds that is approximately. Um, what is it? How many pounds is that
It's
that you
60
lost?
it's 68 pounds.
68 pounds. Okay. So 11 months, 11 months, right? So like, I think a lot of people, they try to take stuff off too fast, but you took it off and then you kept it off. That's what's
Well,
so impressive.
well, yeah, and it came off a lot faster at first, right? So a lot of it's water weight and all that other stuff that comes out and other weight. And then it kind of levels off, right? And so, I've looked at the numbers, and if you take an average, it averages out to, I believe, 1.6 pounds per week was my average, but it wasn't like that, right? So, I remember jumping on the scale. I would religiously jump on the scale every single day at the same time, same, underwear after you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And some days it would be like, well, I should say over the course of a week, is what I would always average it out at. And sometimes it would be like a pound, and then another week it would be 2 pounds, and then another week it'd be a pound and a half. But it averaged out around 1.6 pounds per week.
Yeah. And just so people know, like some of the basics of what you're doing is making sure that you understood your calories and your macros and you were working out and staying active and
Yeah.
just being very, very consistent, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I never deviated.
Yeah, and that's really important for people to hear because people start, telling themselves stories and, why they're not losing. And every single time they're either not tracking, right? They're, not tracking, they're not doing something in the program. And
Yeah.
once they do that, the results just come.
Well, and the water weight is really frustrating to people, because you're doing everything right and the scale doesn't move like you want it to. But if you just stick with it, then when the scale does move, oftentimes it's like a lot more than it should have. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense with the math. And it's like, well, water weighs a lot.
Yeah, it does. And salt and all the, and carbohydrates and all that stuff that people, forget about. It's, when you're in that place, when you're kind of miserable and you're like waiting for the scale to move, you're like, oh God, it's not moving. But then, like you
Yeah.
said, all of a sudden the next week it drops down and
Next week,
oh,
it's like, hallelujah.
yeah, it's exciting. That's way exciting, man. Yeah, the fact that you took it all off and then you stayed that way. And then now, I mean, you're what, 46?
45.
45. So you're 45 now, and to be and to keep it and to stay that at that place at 45 is absolutely amazing. And I think that's what a lot of people they'd be like, oh, that's cool if it was like 20 or 30, but now like as we're getting older, it's still math and it still works. And
Yeah.
people like to blame all these other things for their lack of results. So I
Yeah.
love seeing progress and I love seeing people that are actually doing the things that just validates what we know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I guess my last question is just for somebody who's on the fence with choosing me to work with me as their coach in
Yeah.
this transformation, what would you tell them to get them off the fence?
Um, if you don't already know what your priorities and values are in life, think about it, pray about it, whatever works for you. Write it down on paper for sure. Um, for some reason, it just helps to see it on paper. And if it's a priority to you to be healthy, and it's not about quantity of life because anything can happen, right? It's to me, it's about quality of life. So, how do you want to feel, right? So, decide what you value. Do you value how you look and feel day to day? Do you want to be around for loved ones? Do you want to you know, be able to do certain things, go on certain trips, play certain sports, whatever? So figure out what you prioritize and value, right? And even just going to work every day, right? If you're career driven, it's like you wouldn't believe what extra weight does to your mental capacity. right? So even just thinking at work. So first, I would say, write down your priorities and values. And then as far as going with you personally, that one's a no brainer for me. I mean, obviously you're my bro, but, um, and obviously I would be biased towards you, but if you want someone that values integrity, and if you value you as a person, uh, value integrity, you want a coach that's going to keep his word. Um, you're that kind of guy, which I think is pretty hard to come by these days. Someone that does what they say they're going to do, sticks to it. Two, you're unlike anybody else with accountability. You hold people accountable. You don't let them slide. So if someone is looking for a coach that's going to hold them accountable and not let them slip, call them out, then I think you're that type of guy. You know, um, you take coaching seriously, but you also understand that people slip up and make mistakes, and so you might grill them, but it's in a loving way, and it's in a way that it, again, it keeps them accountable. So it's not like a degrading way. You've never been that way. It's, hey man, I know what you're capable of. I know what you can become. I see it in you, and you'll call them out on that. So, you know, I've worked in the industry for a lot of years too now, and I've been around a lot of other coaches and trainers, and you can see when they don't care, right? You can see it. And with you, that is a big difference that I see. Like, you genuinely care about people. And what else is coaching? You know, you've got the information, you've got the knowledge, but hey, with AI, anybody can get that information and knowledge to a certain extent. There's still a lot of, sifting and, work they'd have to do, but you have it readily available. But more than anything, you genuinely care and you keep your word. And to me, that's huge. So if they're the type of people that they value that's important to them, I think you're the guy.
I appreciate that.